The pills scattered across the coffee table like tiny white stars against dark wood. 2, 4, 6. I counted them silently as my sister's words registered through a haze of disbelief. I just gave her something to help her relax, Felicity said with a casual shrug, blocking my path to the stairs. She wouldn't stop twirling and showing off those stupid ballet moves. My 5-year-old daughter, Olivia, lay motionless upstairs, her breathing shallow, her small body unnaturally still when I'd touched her pale cheek moments ago. Adult sleeping pills, in my child's system. The room tilted violently as something primal tore through my chest, part terror, part rage, leaving me gasping for air against the doorframe. The golden afternoon light streaming through the windows felt obscene against the darkness unfolding inside this house. My name is Rachel. I'm 34 and a single mother. This is the story of how I burned down the prison my family built and rescued the only person who truly mattered. You drugged my 5-year-old daughter, I whispered, my voice unfamiliar even to myself, with prescription medication meant for adults. My mother Janet appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel, her face arranged in that familiar placating expression. Rachel, lower your voice. Felicity didn't mean any harm. She just wanted to show you that Olivia needs more discipline. The absurdity of her response hit me like physical force. My child was unconscious upstairs, drugged by my own sister, and my mother was worried about my tone of voice. For years, I'd navigated my family's criticisms about my parenting. Since my divorce 2 years ago, Felicity had appointed herself the expert on my choices. According to her, everything I did was wrong, from enrolling Olivia in ballet to working full-time. And my mother, ever the peacekeeper, never failed to enable her behavior. I'd tolerated it all. The subtle undermining, the helpful critiques, the attempts to mold Olivia into the quiet, compliant child Felicity thought she should be. But this was something else entirely. What kind of pills? I demanded, already moving toward the stairs. How many did you give her? Felicity's face flickered with something, uncertainty? Fear? Just 2 of my prescription sleep aids, she said, her voice missing its usual confidence. She'll be fine in a few hours. A few hours? My voice rose, bouncing off the walls of the immaculate living room my mother was so proud of. She's 5 years old. Those pills aren't meant for children. I pushed past her and took the stairs 2 at a time, my heart hammering against my ribs. Olivia lay exactly as I'd found her minutes before, her favorite unicorn plushie clutched loosely in her small hands. Her breathing seemed even shallower now, her skin clammy to the touch. Olivia, I whispered, gathering her limp body into my arms. Baby, wake up! When shaking her gently produced no response, ice flooded my veins. My mother and Felicity appeared in the doorway as I lifted Olivia, her dead weight terrifying in my arms. Now, Rachel. My mother stepped forward, her voice dropping into the reasonable tone she used when she thought I was being irrational. Let's handle this privately. No need to make a scene. Olivia will wake up soon, and we can all discuss this calmly. The words struck a familiar chord. The family motto. Keep it private. Handle it internally. Don't make a scene. How many times had I heard those exact words? When my father's drinking became violent, when Felicity's jealousy turned destructive, when any ugliness threatened the perfect family image my mother had cultivated for decades. Discuss what? I asked, my voice deadly calm as I moved toward the door, Olivia secure against my chest. How my sister drugged my daughter and you're trying to cover it up. I'm trying to prevent you from overreacting. My mother's voice hardened, her mask slipping. Felicity made a mistake, but going outside, the family will only make things worse. Think about Olivia's future. Do you want her to be known as the girl whose aunt was arrested? Arrested? Felicity's composure cracked completely, her face draining of color. Mom, you said we'd handle this. Nobody's handling anything, I spat, carrying Olivia toward the front door. I'm taking my daughter to the hospital and then I'm calling the police. You can't. Felicity grabbed my arm, her fingernails digging into my skin. I only did it to show you what happens when you let her run wild. She needs structure, discipline. I looked down at her hand, then back at her face. the sister I'd grown up with, competed with, loved despite everything. In that moment, I saw her clearly for perhaps the first time. The jealousy, the need for control, the belief that she knew better than everyone else. "Let go of me," I warned, my voice barely audible. "You lost any right to an opinion about my daughter when you decided to drug her." "Rachel, please," my mother begged, positioning herself between me and the door. "Think about what this will do to the family. We can work this out ourselves." I looked at them both, my sister, whose jealousy had finally crossed an unforgivable line, and my mother, whose desperation to maintain appearances had enabled every toxic dynamic in our family. "Family doesn't drug children," I said, the words like stones dropping into still water. "Family doesn't cover up abuse, and I'm done pretending this is normal." "If you do this," my mother warned, her voice trembling with anger, "there's no going back." "Good." I reached the front door, struggling to open it while holding Olivia, because I never want to go back to thinking this was okay. As I buckled Olivia into her car seat, her breathing still too shallow, her small body too still, Felicity called from the porch. "You're overreacting. She'll be fine." I slammed the car door and turned to face them one last time. My mother, rigid with anger. My sister, her face twisted with a mixture of defiance and dawning fear. "You know what, Felicity?" I called back, my voice steady now. "You wanted to teach me a lesson. Well, here's one for you. Actions have consequences, and this time you're going to face yours." I pulled out my phone and dialed 911 as I got behind the wheel, watching my mother and sister's faces transform from righteous anger to genuine alarm in the rearview mirror. 911, what's your emergency?" "I need an ambulance," I said clearly. "My sister deliberately drugged my 5-year-old daughter with prescription sleeping pills. I'm driving her to Memorial Hospital now, and I want to report an assault on a minor." As I drove away, I could see my mother and sister gesturing frantically in my rearview mirror. But for the first time in my life, their disapproval meant nothing compared to the weight of my unconscious daughter in the back seat. This time, there would be no sweeping things under the rug. This time, I would protect my child, no matter the cost to our so-called family peace. 20 minutes later, the emergency room erupted into action the moment I carried Olivia through the doors. Within seconds, a team of medical professionals whisked her away, leaving me clutching her unicorn plushie and answering rapid-fire questions from the staff. 2 sleeping pills? Prescription strength? About 3 hours ago? My voice shook as I recounted what happened. The nurse's face darkened with each detail. "And your relation to the person who gave her the medication?" "My sister," I said, the word tasting bitter. "My older sister." Dr. Patterson, a pediatric emergency specialist, arrived quickly, her eyes sharp and assessing as she took in my disheveled appearance. "We're running toxicology screens and monitoring her vital signs," she explained, her tone professional but kind. "Mrs. Lewis, I need to be clear. This could have been fatal. Adult sleep medication can cause severe respiratory depression in children." My knees buckled. A nearby nurse guided me to a chair as 2 police officers entered the room. Behind them, I spotted my mother and Felicity trying to get past hospital security. "Let us in," my mother demanded, her voice carrying across the busy emergency room. "That's my granddaughter." "Mrs. Lewis." One officer stepped forward while his partner dealt with my family. "I'm Officer Rivera. We need to take your statement." As I described the events, finding Olivia, confronting Felicity, my mother's attempt to contain the situation, my phone buzzed continuously with messages. "Don't do this to your sister. You're destroying everything over nothing. Olivia will hate you for breaking up the family." Officer Rivera noticed my distress. "Would you like us to confiscate your phone as evidence?" "Yes," I whispered, handing it over. "They won't stop." A social worker named Ms. Torres joined us, her kind eyes radiating competence. "Mrs. Lewis, given the circumstances, we're implementing immediate protective measures. No one except medical staff and you will be allowed near Olivia." Through the window, I could see my mother crying dramatically, while Felicity argued with hospital security. The sight that would have once filled me with guilt now only strengthened my resolve. Your sister admitted giving the medication to Olivia. Officer Rivera confirmed, making notes in his pad. Yes, she was proud of it, I said, my voice breaking. Said she was teaching us both a lesson. My mother wanted to hide it. Said we should handle it privately. Ms. Torres made notes. This suggests premeditation and a pattern of enabling behavior. We'll need to file a formal report with Child Protective Services. A commotion outside drew our attention. Felicity had somehow slipped past security and burst into the room. "You ungrateful bitch!" she screamed. "After everything I've done to help you raise her properly." Officer Rivera moved swiftly, restraining Felicity as she lunged toward me, her face contorted with rage. "Ma'am, you're under arrest for assault on a minor and now attempted assault. You can't arrest me. I'm her aunt. I was helping." Felicity's voice broke as the reality of her situation finally seemed to hit her. As they led Felicity away in handcuffs, my mother appeared in the doorway, her face contorted with anger and fear. "Rachel, stop this now. Drop the charges," she hissed. "Think about your sister's career. Think about Olivia." "I am thinking about Olivia," I shot back. "She could have died." "She's fine," my mother dismissed with a wave of her hand. "You're just jealous because Felicity's always been better with her than you." Ms. Torres stepped between us. "Ma'am, you need to leave or you'll be removed." "I'm her mother, and I'm Olivia's mother." I stood up, finding strength I didn't know I had. "You both lost the right to be near her the moment you decided drugging a child was acceptable." Security finally escorted my mother out, her threats and pleas echoing down the hallway. Dr. Patterson returned with news that made my heart soar. Olivia was starting to wake up. "She's groggy but stable," she explained. "We'll keep her overnight for observation, but she should make a full recovery." In Olivia's room, I held her tiny hand as she slowly opened her eyes, revealing those familiar blue irises, my eyes in her small face. "Mommy," she mumbled, "I'm here, baby. You're safe now." "Aunt Felicity said I was too excited," she whispered, tears rolling down her cheeks. "Said I needed to learn to be quiet. Did I do something bad?" "No, sweetheart," I kissed her forehead, fighting back my own tears. "You did nothing wrong. Being excited and happy is never wrong." Ms. Torres appeared with more papers. "Mrs. Lewis, we're filing for an emergency restraining order against your sister, and given their response, your mother as well. We'll need to schedule interviews to document any previous incidents." Previous incidents, like the time Felicity had accidentally thrown away Olivia's ballet shoes before a recital, or when she cut Olivia's hair during a sleepover because it was too showy. All the little cruelties I'd dismissed as sibling rivalry or family dynamics now revealed themselves as something much darker. "Whatever you need," I agreed. "This ends now." Officer Rivera returned with news that Felicity was being held without bail due to the severity of the charges. My mother had been escorted from the premises after attempting to access Olivia's room through another entrance. As the night settled in, I watched Olivia sleep. Naturally this time, her breathing steady and strong. My phone sat silent in an evidence bag, but I felt no urge to check it. Let them rage and threaten. Let them try to manipulate and guilt me. They'd shown their true colors, and there was no going back. A nurse brought me a blanket and coffee. "You did the right thing," she said softly. "Not everyone finds the courage to stand up to family." I touched Olivia's cheek, remembering her usual vibrant spirit, her twirls and giggles that Felicity had tried to suppress. "Some things are worth more than family peace," I replied. "Some things are worth fighting for." The nurse nodded, understanding in her eyes. "Yes, they are. And tomorrow's another day to keep fighting." 6 months later, I sat in a courtroom watching Felicity's sentencing hearing. She'd finally pleaded guilty after the toxicology reports proved she'd given Olivia not 2 pills as she claimed, but 4, enough to have caused severe harm or worse. The hospital had detected the higher dosage during their testing, which the prosecutor used as evidence of Felicity's lies and the severity of her actions. My mother sat in the front row, still supporting Felicity, still claiming it was all a misunderstanding. She'd spent the past months alternating between threatening me with legal action for destroying the family and sending flying monkeys, relatives, and family friends to guilt me into dropping the charges. I blocked their numbers and emails one by one, creating a protective barrier around our new life. None of it worked. The prosecutor stood presenting the final evidence. Your Honor, this was not a momentary lapse in judgment. Ms. Wilson deliberately obtained prescription medication, crushed it into a child's drink, and watched as that child lost consciousness. When confronted, she showed no remorse, stating she was teaching them a lesson. Felicity sat there in her expensive suit, tears streaming down her face, the same performance she'd been giving since her arrest, but I'd seen her true face in that moment at my mother's house, the satisfaction when she'd watched my daughter lie unconscious. Furthermore, the prosecutor continued, investigation has revealed a pattern of concerning behavior toward both the victim and her mother. We have documentation of multiple instances of tampering with the child's belongings, psychological manipulation, and attempted parental alienation. My mother shifted uncomfortably. She'd been named in the investigation too, though not charged. The authorities had documented her role in covering up Felicity's escalating behavior over the years. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s, studied the papers before her. Ms. Wilson, please rise. Felicity stood, her lawyer's hand on her arm. What you did was not just criminal. It was a fundamental betrayal of trust. You used your position as an aunt to deliberately harm a child, not in a moment of passion or confusion, but in a calculated attempt to exert control. The judge's voice was steel. I sentence you to 5 years in state prison, followed by 5 years of supervised release. You will undergo mandatory psychological evaluation and treatment. Additionally, a permanent restraining order will remain in effect, protecting both the minor child and her mother. My mother's wail echoed through the courtroom. Felicity's composed facade cracked, showing the rage beneath. "This is your fault," she screamed at me. "You ungrateful, attention-seeking." "Remove the defendant," the judge ordered, and bailiffs led Felicity away. Outside the courthouse, my mother made one last attempt. "Rachel, please, she's your sister. Family forgives." I turned to her, feeling oddly calm. "You know what, Mom? Olivia forgave me for letting this happen for so long. That's the only forgiveness I needed." "You've ruined everything," she spat. "I'll never forgive you for this." "I know," I replied, "and I'm finally okay with that." Later that evening, I watched Olivia at her new ballet studio, twirling with abandon, her face bright with joy. After months of therapy, she was finally dancing again, her confidence returning bit by bit. "Mom!" she called, running over during a break. "Did you see my pirouette? Miss Kimberly says I'm getting better." "You're amazing, sweetheart." I hugged her, breathing in the scent of her hair, feeling her solid and warm and alive in my arms. "Is Aunt Felicity going away for a long time?" she asked suddenly. "Yes, baby, she can't hurt you anymore." She nodded, thoughtful. "And Grandma. She's not allowed to see us either, remember?" "Not until she understands what she did wrong. The restraining order the judge granted means she has to stay away from us for at least 3 years. Like when I have to sit in timeout to think about my actions?" I smiled at her simple wisdom. Exactly like that. After ballet, we went home to our new apartment across town. I'd moved us within weeks of the incident, changing my phone number and email address to cut off the barrage of messages from my mother's enablers. I'd left our old address completely behind, making sure they couldn't simply show up at our door. Olivia's room was decorated with dancing butterflies and fairy lights, a far cry from the sensible decor Felicity had always insisted children should have. As I tucked her in, Olivia asked, "Mom, are you sad about not having a sister anymore?" I sat on the edge of her bed, considering how to answer. "I'm sad about not having the sister I wish I had," I said finally. "But I'm not sad about protecting you." "Like how you're my protector in the story we made up?" "Yes, just like that." After she fell asleep, I sat in our small living room looking at a new message from my mother that had somehow reached my new email. "Felicity's lawyer says she can get out early with good behavior. You can still fix this. Families should stick together." I deleted the message without responding, then added her new email address to my blocked senders list. She must have gotten it from one of our distant relatives who I'd kept in touch with. The divorce from my ex-husband had been finalized 3 years ago, giving me sole custody of Olivia, which meant my mother had no legal means to force contact. On my wall hung Olivia's latest art project, a drawing of us as superheroes standing tall and strong. "The Brave Girls," she'd titled it, with a rainbow arching over our heads. My phone buzzed again, but this time it was Ms. Torres, the social worker who'd become a friend, heard about the sentencing. "How are you holding up?" "We're good," I texted back. "Really good." And we were. We lost a family, but gained ourselves. Olivia was dancing again, laughing again, being a child again. I was standing taller, speaking louder, being the mother she deserved. Some would call it a sad ending, a family torn apart, relationships severed. But sitting there, listening to my daughter's peaceful breathing from the next room, I knew better. This wasn't an ending at all. It was a beginning.